This is John SCHABEN of the Dunlap Livestock Auction, bringing you news here on Friday, April 24th. A little commentary back to country of origin labeling, mandatory country of origin labeling that I talked about, I think, on Monday. Had a lot of comments about that. Most of them were positive and supportive, a few that weren't. But I thought I'd just address a couple issues and then maybe move on about that in the short term. And I do want to put ever since mandatory country of origin got taken away from us. This is an issue that I've had a great deal of opinion on and conversation, and I think people closest to me would know that I have actually went to our state cattlemen's organizations in December to see if I could get them to even take policy to reinstate it, so that it didn't have anything. This particular thing doesn't have anything to do with the COVID situation or anything to do with a Holcomb plant fire that we had last year. It's just, to me, it's the difference between what's right and what's wrong. So I'm going to kick off. There's two aspects to country of origin labeling to me. There is a consumer aspect, and then there's the producer aspect. And I want to talk about the consumer aspect first. And I hope some of you have looked at this goofy hat that I wear during the summer. And I got to protect my noggin that don't have much protection on it. So these hats, and you won't see the label in here, but they're made in China. They're cheap. They cost a few bucks. I imagine the retailer probably gives 10 cents a piece for them, or 15, and they're the kind you get at the carnival and that kind of stuff. But they shade my head pretty good. They don't last very long, but they get dirty quick, and I just throw them away. I could literally go through one a week. It's okay because they don't cost very much. I know they're cheap, and that's all right. I did bring this hat along for discussion. This is my favorite winter hat to wear. It's a good hat. It's well made. You can wash it up and it'll look almost like new. I don't know, this hat's 10 years old, and you won't see on this label back here, but it's a USA made hat, and they're not cheap. I think they cost $35 or something, but this is a really good winter hat that I wear, and I'm pretty proud of it. And if it didn't get too hot in the summer, I could wear this thing all year. And then I also want to show you this nice Stetson hat that has a good label here that says made in the USA. And I like wearing this hat when I go out, and it keeps its shape really good. And it's a nice hat, and they're not cheap by any stretch of the imagination, but they're pretty good, and I know the quality with it because of the label that it has. I want to talk about. Well, I'll just talk about this hat, or anything like it. So if I was able to buy this hat that looked like, but it was made in China, but it looked just like this hat, and it did everything else, and I could take this tag off, and the hat probably would cost $4 or something, or $5. And if I could take this label off and sew a made in the USA label on it and then sell it off as a $30 hat, I mean, in the short term, boy, I'd get along really good. But I would guess the consumer would have a fit once they realized that they were paying good money for this hat and it didn't last very long and they had to throw it away and everything else. And pretty soon there'd be an investigation, and then I'd probably get commented. I would assume, I don't know if it'd be the Department of Justice or whoever is in charge of that, and I would probably be charged for consumer fraud. I'm not an attorney, but that's, I guess, what had happened, and I would assume justifiably they would probably throw me in prison for doing that. Okay, so in our beef industry, from a consumer standpoint, that's where we're at today. You can source foreign product in. You can tear the package apart, repackage it up, do it here, and send it back out as made in the USA. It's consumer fraud, and it can't be anything but that. It's not illegal. I know that because they're doing it and doing it all the time. But it's crazy to me that it's not illegal. It would have been illegal when we had mandatory of country of origin labeling. And you would think under that scenario, gosh, it would be a great financial windfall if I could actually do that and repackage it and everything else, as it is a financial windfall for the packers. So back to the consumer right issue. I think it's a consumer's right to know. We have been told forever the consumer is king. So it only made sense when we enacted country of origin labeling. We were giving them the most information that we could give, and we were proud to do it. And that right was taken away from us. So that's why we fight to get that right back. And I think our consumers will love and endorse that right. And so to stop this consumer fraud thing that's going on, It's important that this gets changed immediately. So let's talk about it from a producer standpoint. I want to make one thing clear. If I was a packer, and I'm darn sure probably not smart enough to be in that industry, but if I was a packer, I would not want mandatory country of origin labeling. The packers admitted it in court that they had to pay more when mandatory country of origin labeling was in place. It only makes sense. You get to source foreign product, get to source it at a cheaper price, and sell it off for a higher price that we created with a system here in this country of producing a superior product. So I don't fault the packers for what they did. I think it's wrong that it happened, but I don't think it's wrong that they asked for it. And I think it's our job to fight back and make sure that we get it reinstituted, obviously having to fight the packer lobby to do it. Now, I will go on again and publicly tell you that it's really disheartening to me that our National Cattlemen's Organization were the ones that did all the lobbying against it. And folks, I do think it's fair to ask what side of the fence you stand on. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you don't think it's a big deal, then I wouldn't. That's your right. That's absolutely your right. I think it's a big deal, and so we're doing our darndest to ask to reinstate mandatory country of origin labeling. We're asking it from our Congress people. We've got to get that out there, and we've got to get that around to all our legislators to get working on this. From the producer standpoint, why is it so critical? Folks, we've got higher production standards than our foreign competitors. There's no doubt about it. It costs us more to produce a pound of beef than it does them. In a marketplace that's equal, the low-cost provider will always win out. We cannot win at that scenario. It's that simple. We are upheld to production standards that are higher. Our production costs are higher. It will be impossible in the marketplace that the low-cost provider won't win out with everything else being the same. Take two car companies, take Honda, take Lexus, great example. You've got one producing a premium product. They get to price it at a premium price because they get to label it. If you told Lexus that they could not distinguish their product in the marketplace from their cheaper competitor, Honda, who produces a good car, by the way, but obviously not to the production standards of Lexus, there's no way Lexus can withstand that model, and they would have been out of business a long time ago. So we don't have a choice as producers to fight this unless our choice is to get run out of business. As an auction market owner, obviously it's a big deal to me because I am not going to be selling foreign cattle in this marketplace. I'm going to work for the United States cow-calf producer. So we've got to get more for them. And to me, this is one of the easiest ways for that to happen. There's going to be a premium. And folks, I totally believe that. I know you can sit here and argue and say, oh, the consumer isn't going to pay for it. I think more than ever, the consumer will pay for it. That's why they're running in groves right now for home butchering and things like that. They want to know where they come from. And so we've got to push for it. We've got to push for it fast. It's absolutely going to be the right of the American cow-calf producer. Within that, we have to demand it from our cattlemen's organizations. We have to demand it. Folks, I don't know any other way than to get meaningful change if we make that demand and they say, you know what? You just don't understand, which they have. You're just not smart enough. You just don't get the dynamics of this whole thing, which they've said that. Maybe I don't, but so what, I guess. This is what I want. This is what most of my producers are asking for. And my job is to put that voice out there for those producers. And so we have got to do it. Now, if you're watching this and you're a consumer, you don't raise cattle, you do care about where your product comes from, you're a big part of this. You're a big part of this. You have got to demand it. You've got to demand it in the marketplace. And folks, here's the problem today. It's going to have a USA label on it, and you don't know where it came from. I know that sounds pretty sad, but that's the truth. So you've got to demand it even then above that. And you've got to go to your Congress people and you've got to say, hey, so I'm asking for help here. We're going to do our part, but I need you to help us. And we'll get meaningful change and we'll get it done. And it's going to make a difference for the American cow-calf producer. And somebody's going to say, it's not going to make any difference, John. And then I'm going to say, well, if it doesn't make any difference, I guess it didn't matter because we're going to be out of business anyway. So this is our last ditch effort. This is what we're going to try. And we're going to go back to where we were. Doesn't sound like progress, but I think it's progress for the American cow-calf producer. And we're going to push and we're going to get through mandatory country of origin labeling. And we're going to demand it of the people that are supposed to be representing us to tell us what side they want to stand on. So you tell us what side. I think the movement's big enough that all we'd ask is if you're not going to support us through the process, don't stand in our way so we don't have to run you over in that process. Because that'll be collateral damage. Folks, on that, I do want to make one last thing, and I want to talk about the checkoff and then checkoff in relationship to mandatory country of origin labeling. This guy's a big checkoff proponent, more than lots of my customers are. I'll fight for it, but here's my problem. I think the job of the checkoff is to promote beef. That's what it's supposed to do. Okay, it looks like it's doing a pretty good job. Our retail prices are shooting through the roof, but we're not seeing it as producers. So I said this a long time ago. Who's the checkoff working for? And unfortunately, today it's not working for producers. So we have got to do things that make it work for producers. Now, checkoff can't lobby. It can't. It's not. They're not going to be able to lobby. The producers' organizations can, but we've got to tell the checkoff people that it's time for a divisional line drawn between the producer organizations and the checkoff organizations. You folks got the money. Get out there on your own. Run your business. Run your checkoff business. But if you don't, here's what's going to happen. I'm afraid people are going to say, why are we forced to pay a tax, which that's what it is. I've never said it that way because I don't like paying taxes. I don't mind paying my checkoff. But what I do have a problem is if you're forcing me to promote a competitor. Now, there isn't a business person in the world that's voluntarily going to pay into a system that helps their competitor. That's bad business. That's crazy bad business. And so we have got to be able to differentiate our product in the marketplace and then promote our market. So I am publicly going to say, and I've said it in a long time, if we can't differentiate our market our product in the marketplace, if the dollar that we invest, which is $1.50 now if you're in the state of Iowa, if we can't differentiate in the marketplace where that dollar goes, then I don't think we should pay it. I think it should be against the law to have to promote your competitor. I'm willing to listen to you tell me why that's not right. I welcome that conversation. I welcome that argument. I do not want this to leave to say that John SCHABEN and the Dunlap Livestock Auction is against the checkoff, because that is not true. I am for it. I've promoted it, and I will continue to promote it. But what I am stating is that it better be for the product that my producers are raising, or we're going to do something about it. This is John SCHABEN with the Dunlap Livestock Auction. Thank you.